Hi everybody. What I thought we would do today is talk a little bit about the changes to Rule 4.2.2 that have been implemented for this season. I think the best thing to do is for you to pause the video right here for a second and go back and take a look at the rhythmic intent video that we published last year. Most of the content in that video is still going to be true and accurate, and that's really a great place for us to start. So I'll wait for just a second as you go back and review all the things that we talked about in that, and then we can discuss some of the things that are going to be different for this year. All right, thank you very much for reviewing that and going over that information. The changes to Rule 4.2.2 are as follows for this season. It reads, no single triggered electronic sound may produce rhythmic intent. That first sentence is still the same as it's always been. Lyrics with rhythmic intent may be triggered on a per word basis. Spoken word phrases without rhythmic intent may be performed with a single trigger. Let's start with that last sentence, the third clause in here. Really what that last sentence does is it codifies for us an operating policy that we've been using for the last several years and just makes it very specific in the rule book so that it's crystal clear for everybody. If you're using a spoken word phrase in your show and there's no rhythmic intent, it's not intended to be in time with anything else that's happening in the performance, that can be triggered with a single press. That's the same as it was last year. It's exactly the same this year, but it's very specifically laid out in the rule now, and I think a great change by the advisory board this year. So if you're going to recite the Gettysburg Address, that can still happen with one single trigger. You can let the whole thing run. There's no rhythmic intent behind that. Where the biggest change has been made for this year is in the second clause, the second sentence. Lyrics with rhythmic intent may be triggered on a per word basis. The example that I used in the video last year was a clip from Stevie Wonder, Superstition. And in that clip, we said this is 6 distinct notes. If you were to play it back on any other instrument, it would need to be 6 distinct samples. The advisory board has changed the way that we do that kind of sampling for this year and going forward. That quote that I referenced in the last video can now be triggered on just 2 individual pads, one for each word of the lyrical phrase that ostensibly would be performed back in time with other music happening on the floor. And I think it's a great compromise. It maintains one of the things that was really important to the advisory board, that being that the students are responsible for the live performance of the music that is happening, but it allows us to get just a little bit more broad and I think really speak to production value by not breaking up words into individual syllables. One of the things that was mentioned was that words mean something in the English language or in any other language. That words have meaning, and chopping those up by syllable often makes distorts the meaning quite a bit. So really good compromise this year. You can now break up any lyric samples that you want in your production just on a per word basis, and that's for any lyrics that are going to be happening in time that have rhythmic intent in your program. One of the things that I would like to clarify is that if you are not sampling lyrics, if you're still going to sample a timpani, so to speak, that still does need to be chopped up per note that the instrument is going to be played back. So the clause in the exception this year for lyrics with rhythmic intent applies only to lyrics that may be integrated into your show. I hope that clears up a lot of questions that many of you may have had. I know as we get into this portion of the season, most have wrapped up their shows by this point and are perfecting all the samples that will be in the finished product and final product. So hopefully you can keep some of these things in mind as you continue splicing and dicing and getting everything all ready to go. If you have any additional questions about this, or if there's a use case in your show that you're not really sure exactly how that's going to work, if that would be Foley sound or instrument or spoken word or whatever the case may be, you can always send me an email and ask me any question. Or if I haven't completely cleared it up in this video, let me know and I can produce an addendum that really spells out anything that may still be murky and may still be confusing. It's a very complicated territory, especially as so many groups are pushing the envelope and pushing the boundaries every single year. And the changes that the advisory board made, I think, are great and hopefully will help clear up a lot of things for a lot of groups. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Don't hesitate to send me an email if you have any additional questions.